Starfield, everyone, the latest Bethesda entry, and the subject of at least 24 videos tearing it a new one for falling so very short of our expectations. I can't even leave my house without seeing one of these videos creeping around the corner, including this absolute corker which I am dying to watch. I know there is nothing I can say about the story, gameplay, companions, dialogue that hasn't been said 5, 10, 15 times over. So I'm gonna talk about something else. Starfield was easily my most anticipated game of 2023. A true open world space RPG was something I'd been really hurting for, and I was really hoping Bethesda might finally deliver what I was after. After abandoning the bougie companions at the mansion, I set out into the stars. My first quest began in orbit of Paradiso 2. A star cruiser eerily hangs in orbit, not responding to anyone contacting them. I boarded the ship, only to discover the ship is a colony vessel named the ECS Constant. They're human beings who evacuated Earth years before the discovery of faster than light travel, falling behind everyone else. This is the planet they were aiming to call home, and after 200 years they've finally made it. But there's one problem. Paradiso 2 is now the site of a luxury resort called Paradiso. The colonists ask you to present their case to the board of directors for Paradiso, and the second I saw this man's creepy, smug, smarmy smile, I had a question etch itself into the back of my mind that has only gotten louder and louder over the last year. Is Starfield corporate propaganda? This was a recurring question throughout my entire playthrough and the year following it that has been compounded by so many quests and characters in the world of Starfield. I think I could comfortably call Paradiso the worst offender of the tier list I have here. I'm not going to say the colonists were completely right in this quest, as Paradiso has existed for decades before their arrival, and they do request to have the entire planet to themselves, which is quite unreasonable. Paradiso does have a right to be there. They didn't know these colonists claimed it like 300 years ago. These guys weren't even alive then, so I will give Paradiso the benefit of the doubt. They didn't know this planet was claimed, so to speak. But the company's approach to the situation is just so barbaric and immoral that it definitely fits this tier list 100%. Now, the logical solution to this dilemma is the colonists settle on the opposing side of the planet. Paradiso barely covers a town's worth of space after years of existing, so it would be centuries before their settlements would even come close to each other. But Paradiso won't allow that under any circumstances, as it might mar the satellite image on the brochures. So you play the intermediary for the two parties, the colonists aboard the Constant and the board members in charge of Paradiso. When this quest started up, I had so many ideas about where it was going to go, and the actual outcomes had me bitterly disappointed. In fact, something I learned when recording footage for this video is on a New Game Plus run, you can literally tell the captain there is no good outcome to this stupid ass quest. My personal spin on this was that I was imagining the idea of shoving the corporates out and getting the colonists in, possibly going to New Atlantis and finding an old log that proved the colony ship crew had staked their claim 200 years ago and it was legally still valid. But Paradiso's executives refused to honour it, so you hook the colonists up with some modern weaponry and take Paradiso back by force, completely changing the planet from a retreat for the rich into a bustling new colony for humans eager to learn about their new galaxy. The Constant is full of security guards as well, armed security guards, so I assume that's what they were there for, that they were going to come with you and attack the colony if they refused to let them take it back. I thought there was going to be something like that in this questline, but it isn't the case. You are presented three options by the board. The first being, allow them to settle on the planet at Paradiso, but they have to work off the funds it costs the company to house them. Essentially, you're forcing them into slavery. Not great. This involves you being made to go find materials to support their settling on Paradiso because they don't want to cover it. This involved me getting sent to Aquila City to get the minerals, running around for 15 minutes looking for the minerals shop, only getting half of the iron I needed, waiting 48 hours, petting my cat in the meantime, buying the iron, then buying the rest from the general store, dumping all my resources in my ship storage because I had bought all the resources I'd marked for search because I was technically playing the game while I was recording this. Then got back to the Constant, only to be told I didn't have the resources on me. Oh my god. And the game wouldn't remind me what I needed, and I had to go back to my ship, grab all my resources again, and hand over what they needed. You then fly the first crew down to the surface, they disembark from my engines for some reason, and Captain Breckenridge seems really excited about this new opportunity, even though she's suffered one of the worst demotions in human history, going from a starship captain to a servant. This is another part of my issue with this questline. The colonists feel like they were written to have no agency, as after they send you down to the planet, they're just happy with whatever outcome they receive, even though they send you down with the strict intention of inhabiting the entire planet. There could have been a follow-up where you go back to the ship, tell them what the plan is, and they say, no, we're going to land and take it back by force. The next option is to buy them a grav drive out of your own pocket, so they can just fuck off and find another planet to live on. After passing a little persuasion check in Hope Town, no, none of these, everything in this game that's called a city isn't a city, and everything called a town isn't a town. Hope Town is a factory, Aquila City is a dirt hovel. Anyway. Returning to the Constant, I have to complete a few specific tasks to get the grav drive hooked up. Unfortunately, the first time I was given the instructions, my girlfriend showed me something that distracted me, so I had no clue what to do. The second time he gave me my instructions, I completely dissociated and only perceived one of them. The third time I managed to remember one, but completely spaced on the other, leading me to just run the sequence over and over on the last step until I finally achieved success. Kings, just fake it until you make it. And the last option, and brace yourself everyone, blow them up. A colony ship full of hundreds of innocent men, women and children just looking for their home. Just blow them up. Keep the board happy, you know? In this option I had to look up how to access the computer to overload said reactor, only to find out I have to pickpocket it off of this guy. Killing him is off the table, of course, he's an essential NPC for some reason, and pickpocketing is a targeted skill that I hadn't unlocked yet. So I had to jet off to a procedurally generated base to kill a few pirates, unlock pickpocketing, fail the pickpocket, get put in jail. Oh my god, even if you want to be a prick, it's so hard to do it. They don't... How would they know it's stolen? How would they know? Get released, reload a save because you only get one attempt to pickpocket him, sit invisible for 5 minutes while your target stares you dead in the face despite being invisible, pickpocket the key, overload the reactor, escape, kaboom. Now, look, I have no problem with these options being there in the game. My issue is these are the only options. There is nothing else in this questline, this is it. It's do the corpo's bidding, do the corpo's bidding, or do the corpo's bidding. And they present these to you with this smug look of satisfaction and complete confidence that you will do whatever they say. Where's the rebellion? Where's the refusal? There's nothing there, you're just serving, that's it. They present you this nasty, tricksy snake of a corpo and not only refuse to let you do anything about him, they only allow you to act in his favour. You also can't kill the board either, they're essential, though I did have fun trying. There is no outcome to this questline that favours the colonists. They've either lost their promised home and sent to navigate a dangerous, unfamiliar galaxy, forced into slavery, or they're all dead. I mean, you send them off to the galaxy, they could jump into the next system and get killed by the Crimson Fleet. The company could just extend their slavery for as long as they want to keep them because it's employees they don't have to pay. I don't have to give a caveat for the third option, obviously, we know what happened there. If the rest of my examples didn't exist, I'd assume this questline was forgotten at the 50% mark and then just quickly patched up in the home stretch, Bethesda style, but here we go. Oh boy, Ryujin Industries. A questline about being a black ops saboteur for a vicious mega corporation. No nuance, no moral ambiguity. Every question of someone's character is how loyal to the company they are. Any question you make about the company's ethics is brushed off with a, yeah, it is what it is. The only struggle you actually have is, do we want to sell a literal mind control device to the populace or not? The device in question is stolen by a competing company called Infinity Ltd, who engage in some rather malicious murder to get the device working. Once you discover their crimes, you work to air the activities to the public, but it's not out of a sense of bringing corrupt people to justice, it's purely so Ryujin can eliminate a competitor from the corporate food tree. Though I'm not gonna lie, when they send you into Infinity Ltd to steal the device, they say it's stealth, but there's no punishment for not being stealthy, so...
Leave now! Ah!
I will meet David.
David Barron is the most famous German.
The thing is as well is that it shouldn't matter that Ryujin want to eliminate a competing company, because all they tell you is that they're the best company in the galaxy. and once the quest is over, you can use said mind-controlled device on your fellow peers to convince them whether or not to sell it. There's definitely a chance for a device that controversial to create a lot of nuance and intrigue within the questline, but it just never really takes off. You're a company drone and your involvement never really elevates beyond that, other than just making a decision on the board of whether or not to sell the device. You can at least stop them from selling the device, but there's no guarantee they wouldn't try and push something similar in the future. You don't change the company's ethics, you don't make them better, you don't take them out, you don't stop them, you just delay the inevitable. You're just a cog in their machine. You just go do Radiant quests where you sabotage the mum and pop gun shop in Aquila City so Dollar Store Arasaka can stay on top of everyone else. That's another element of this that bugs me. Ryujin is so clearly just a rip-off of Arasaka from Cyberpunk that it's not even subtle. They even copy the same colour scheme and the Japanese aesthetic. At least Arasaka are an actual Japanese company rooted in the culture of the country. Todd's got me defending Arasaka, that's how in-your-face this is.
The public is outraged. Had Lucas not been a casualty in our plans, I'm sure they'd be demanding his head.
I don't even remember killing him.
Ryujin will be...
I was planning on talking about Walter Stroud for this video, but there's not really much to say about him. He's just a nice corpo. They don't really list you any controversies about him. He's just a shipbuilding CEO who donates his money to Constellation, but clearly not on lot because their one ship is a piece of shit. But besides all of that, he's just a nice guy and he has a stable relationship with his wife. There is a weird thing in the game where all of the Varun cult terrorists use Stroud Eklund ships, which are his ships, but that's never touched on. That could have been an interesting part of the story, but we never saw it. So I'm going to put that one on a Bethesda asset flip and move forwards. Benjamin Bayu is the corporate overlord of Neon, or Timu Night City. I wouldn't even say this guy is a character so much he is just a statement. This guy, despite having very little screen time in the game, is Bethesda's crowning moment of here is a corrupt corporate criminal. You can't do a single thing about that. Every time you see him, he is absolutely untouchable. You of course can't kill him because he's essential. He even gets his little hooks in during the Ryujin questline where I skipped an optional step in a quest to purely save time, only for the game to spit in my face later as apparently that pissed off Benjamin Bayu. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think they even established him as connected to Ryujin, but I guess because he controls everything in Neon, they controls Ryujin too. Anyways, he was pissed and I had to go kill a rival operator for him or something. There's no winning against him, everything you do is at his mercy. You're only allowed to be in Neon because he said so. There's some serious potential in a character like that, a seedy, corrupt businessman at the top of the slum town who's even got control in the Freestar Collective, being on the council. But he's only directly involved in just a few quests mentioned in Ryujin and that's it. I somehow feel like that's worse than being a major part of the game. Where's the questline of knocking this evil bastard off his high horse? Toppling the greedy monster who's had his boot on the neck of the poor and starving of Neon for years? There's even a origin you can pick for your character called Neon Street Rat. That character would be so personal for you because you'd have such a deep-seated hatred for him. Neon Street Rat doesn't really do anything except for... Wait, what does it do? I never actually picked it. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Starfield Neon Street Rat trait. There we go. Bonus credit reward for using it. Are you fucking kidding me? The only thing the Neon Street Rat trait gives you is more money for doing the corpo shit. Like, why do all roads lead back to the Megacorps? It doesn't make any sense. Neon Street Rat means street kid. You'd hate the corpos. Why is the only perk you get from this more money for doing the corpo missions?
I guess you're just so fueled with rage because you really hate the corpos, so you get more money because you work harder to kill them.
But you don't kill them. You just do their missions. You're just a corporate slave the entire time. You don't get to take the company down from the inside. You don't get your Johnny Silverhand moment. And the Freestar don't even care that he's a crime boss. I think they make like one comment about it, but they're not trying to undo it. They're not trying to get him out. They just keep on cosplaying cowboys and pretending they're free men. And speaking of the dweebs with the dirt roads, that brings me on to my next corporate rat. Ron Hope. Ron Hope, everyone. We love Ron Hope. CEO of Hope Tech, a counsellor in the Freestar Collective, champion of the common people. I'm serious, you cannot go 5 minutes in Hopetown or Aquila without someone professing he is the absolute tits. Oh, he's also a murderer of local farmers. I'm not gonna lie, dragging myself back through this questline for the sake of B-roll was an absolute chore. At the end of the questline, you learn Ron Hope was paying off mercenaries to buy out or wipe out small farms to cover up a fertilizer experiment that he was using to try and save his company. Once you discover his crimes, your two options are to kill him or accept a bribe in exchange for your silence. You can't arrest him and bring him to justice, despite the game having non-lethal weaponry and a brig module on the shipbuilder, but let's not open that can of worms. What's important is at last we can take action against a corporate scumbag. You take down Ron Hope, ending his criminal actions for good and bringing justice to a corrupt CEO trying to profit off of dead civilians. What do you think Starfield does after that? Oh, of course they tried to guilt trip you, what else were you expecting? One of its employees, who was present for the exchange, simply berates you for putting the company and its staff in jeopardy, giving a very menial shit about the innocent people her boss was killing and exploiting, even though seconds prior he threatened to...
I can take your job, and more.
This man literally threatened to kill her to her face and she is still defending him. Is there a Stockholm syndrome for employment? And even after Ron Hope's dead, everyone on Hopetown will endlessly talk about how great Ron Hope is and how they'd be dust if it wasn't for the factory. I think the most disappointing thing to me is the setup of the Megacorps controlling everything in Starfield could be a really cool world-building element. The game is set after a devastating civil war that nearly brought both the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective to the brink of total collapse. And no doubt in that time, all the companies profiting off that war are now at the top of the food chain, and would likely have these governments by the balls to pay off their debts. This should be a very interesting take on a corporate dystopia. Whereas the governments in Cyberpunk have completely yielded to the likes of Militech and Arasaka, we could have seen the UC and FC trying, but failing to allow these people to take over, actively fighting the corporates who are trying to snake their way into power. We already see Benjamin Bayu and Ron Hope on the Freestar Council, both corrupt criminal CEOs abusing their powers for their own personal gains. We could have seen similar things going on in the UC as well. Even the companions are all bougie and come from places of privilege, with the exception of Andresia, but even then she's got that pretends to be cool but would rat you out to HR for bad-mouthing the bosses vibe. There's no nuance to the fact the Freestar Collective are completely controlled by corporations, and there's no nuance to how depressing the workers of this galaxy are. Everything is just fine and dandy, and everyone just seems to accept it as the way it is. And honestly, I think Bethesda believe this is a cool future that Todd would want to hang up his boots in. That's where I draw issue. Every angle of this game could be really cool if it ever recognized it as a problem, but they don't. Everyone is just kind of fine with it, or just thinks that they don't have the power to change anything. And it's not like they use that as a storytelling element. It's like the writers are just saying to you, it is what it is, go have fun. This is a fun galaxy to be in. It's not, it's miserable. Everyone's depressed. The colonists don't care about being displaced, they don't care about being enslaved, nobody cares that Ryujin made a mind control device, and nobody asks why all the Varun terrorists use Walter Stroud's ships. And after Ron Hope dies, no one cares. Everyone just keeps chatting him up like he's the big bollocks. Bethesda don't want these issues expanded on. It's so aggressively surface level that I still wonder whether it's intentional or not. Now, while I don't think Starfield was intentional corporate propaganda, I think it comes off as incredibly tone-deaf and ignorant, considering the state of things in our real-world lives. The wealthy of our world are only getting wealthier, megacorporations are expanding their influence into world governments, and the struggles of the working class are only getting worse by the day. And then Bethesda present you with so many corporations and wealthy, corrupt bullies that are willingly brutalizing those beneath them with no ability or choice to take action against them, with the exception of Ron Hope. Cyberpunk 2077 has a corporate-dominated world, but through Johnny Silverhand you get a shot at giving the worst of them a black eye, and the corps are treated as enemies throughout the entire game. Now of course there's games like Deep Rock Galactic and Lethal Company where you are just wage slaves of a vicious mega corporation, but it's part of the gag, it's part of the joke, you know? You are just a wage slave who's doing these ridiculous, impossible, deadly missions for a paycheck. It's a satirical reflection of real-world corrupt megacorporations. Starfield had so many avenues where they could have explored taking action against the wealthy and powerful, but chose not to. The Crimson Fleet could have been pirates who targeted corporate ships more than civilians, presenting a more complex moral choice as by siding with SysDef you're essentially defending the status quo imposed by the ruling class. Ryujin could have included a segment about rebelling against them with a team of former employees who want to take the company down. You could have wrestled Paradiso from the corporation into the hands of the colonists. And you could have had a quest about taking down Benjamin Bayu with a crew of disgruntled Neo-Knights. Now again, I have no issue with the corpo side of the game being there. I have no issue with a quest where you work for Ryujin. It's the fact these are the only options. You can only serve Paradiso, you can only serve Ryujin, you can only stare at Benjamin Bayu without taking action. There is nothing you can do about them. They are just there, beyond your control. It feels like it was written from the perspective of the wealthy, the people who've never had to struggle a day in their lives and after a massive wave of layoffs in a company would sympathize with the CEO for having to make a hard decision. The whole element of games like Cyberpunk presenting you with a corporate dystopia is that it's not a good thing. But Starfield doesn't seem to think it is a bad thing. They just tell you it is the way it is and that it's all okay. No one wants to actually take action against the way the world is. There is no Johnny Silverhand trying to push you to rebel against these powers that be because it's just a part of the world. The phrase I kept kicking around in my head is, while most open world RPGs present you with the status quo of their world and dare you to change it, Starfield presents you with their status quo and begs you not to touch it. Or, you know, maybe they're just shit writers. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe, as I have a lot of different ideas kicking around in my head that I want to yap about. Not Starfield related, as I've already uninstalled it. And I'll be starting to stream off and on Twitch. The link will be in the description. Thank you again for watching. See you all in the next one.